Inside each of us, there are two versions battling for control. There's the strong version, the one that's disciplined, focused, and committed to growth. And then there's the weak version, the one that's lazy, makes excuses, and is content with mediocrity. Our job, if we want to live an extraordinary life, is to nurture the strong version and eliminate the weak one. Let me ask you this, how many times have you set a goal for yourself only to give up when things got tough? How often have you told yourself, I'll start my diet on Monday, or I'll begin saving money next month, or I'll look for a better job when the economy improves? These are all examples of the weak version of yourself talking. And it's time to silence that voice once and for all. Now, killing the weak version of yourself isn't easy. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a process, a journey that requires consistent effort and dedication. But let me tell you, it's worth it. The rewards of becoming the best version of yourself are immeasurable. So how do we go about this process? Well, the first step is awareness. You need to become acutely aware of when that weak version of yourself is trying to take control. It might be when your alarm goes off in the morning, you're tempted to hit the snooze button instead of getting up to exercise. It might be when you're faced with a challenging task at work and you're tempted to procrastinate. Or it might be when you're at a restaurant and you're tempted to order that unhealthy meal instead of sticking to your diet. Awareness is key because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Once you're aware of these moments, you can start to make different choices. You can choose to be strong instead of weak, to be disciplined instead of lazy, to be committed instead of uncommitted. Now, here's something important to understand. The weak version of yourself will always take the path of least resistance. It will always choose what's easy over what's right. It will always prefer comfort over growth. But here's the thing, the path of least resistance leads to a life of unfulfilled potential. It leads to a life of regret, a life where you look back and wonder, what if? Is that the kind of life you want to live? I don't think so. I think you're here because you want more. You want to squeeze every ounce of potential out of yourself. You want to live a life of purpose, of meaning, of achievement. And to do that, you need to kill that weak version of yourself. Now let's talk about some practical strategies for doing this. The first strategy is to set clear, specific goals for yourself. You see, the weak version of yourself thrives in ambiguity. When your goals are vague or unclear, it's easy to make excuses, to procrastinate, to settle for less than your best. But when you have clear, specific goals, it becomes much harder for that weak version to take control. So take some time to really think about what you want to achieve. Don't just say, I want to be successful. That's too vague. Instead, say something like, I want to increase my income by 20% in the next 12 months by developing a new skill and taking on additional responsibilities at work. See the difference? The more specific you are, the more power you have over that weak version of yourself. The second strategy is to develop strong habits. You see, we are creatures of habit. Much of what we do on a daily basis is automatic, driven by habits that we've developed over time. The weak version of yourself has its own set of habits, habits of procrastination, of making excuses, of taking the easy way out. To kill that weak version, you need to replace those habits with stronger ones. For example, if you want to get in shape, develop the habit of exercising every morning before work. If you want to advance in your career, develop the habit of reading books in your field for an hour every evening. If you want to improve your relationships, develop the habit of expressing gratitude to someone in your life every day. Remember, habits are powerful because they take the decision-making process out of the equation. Once a habit is established, you don't have to rely on willpower or motivation. You just do it automatically without thinking, and that's when real progress happens. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your environment. You see, your environment has a huge impact on your behavior and your mindset. If you're surrounded by negative, unmotivated people, it's going to be much harder to stay positive and motivated yourself. If your workspace is cluttered and disorganized, it's going to be harder to focus and be productive. So, take a good, hard look at your environment. Are the people in your life lifting you up or dragging you down? Is your physical space conducive to productivity and growth? Or is it holding you back? Remember, you have the power to change your environment. You can choose who you spend time with. You can organize your space in a way that supports your goals. This brings me to another important point, responsibility. Killing that weak version of yourself requires taking full responsibility for your life. The weak version loves to blame others, to make excuses, to play the victim. But the strong version knows that you are the author of your own life story. You see, there's a fundamental law of life that you need to understand. You get what you give. If you want more success, you need to give more value. If you want better relationships, you need to be a better friend, partner, or colleague. If you want more opportunities, you need to make yourself more valuable. This law applies to everything in life. You want a better job. Become better at your current job. You want more respect. Be more respectful to others. You want more love. Be more loving. It's simple, but it's not easy. The weak version of yourself will always look for shortcuts, for ways to get something for nothing. But the strong version knows that true success comes from giving, from adding value, from making a contribution. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful tools you have in killing that weak version of yourself, your mind. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your self-talk, these all play a crucial role in determining whether the strong version or the weak version of yourself is in control. The weak version has a very distinctive way of thinking. It's always focused on limitations, on what can't be done, on why things are too hard or too risky. It loves to dwell on past failures and future fears. It's constantly comparing itself to others and coming up short. The strong version, on the other hand, thinks very differently. It focuses on possibilities, on solutions, on what can be done. It learns from past failures but doesn't dwell on them. It plans for the future but lives in the present. It compares itself only to its past self, always striving to be better today than it was yesterday. So how do you shift your thinking from weak to strong? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking like the weak version, stop and consciously choose a different thought. For example, if you find yourself thinking, I can't do this, it's too hard, stop and replace it with, this is challenging, but I can learn and grow from it. Another powerful tool for shifting your thinking is affirmations. These are positive statements that you repeat to yourself regularly. For example, I am capable of achieving my goals, or I am getting stronger and more disciplined every day. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical about affirmations. You might be thinking, Jim, that sounds like a bunch of New Age nonsense. But let me tell you, affirmations work. They work because they help reprogram your subconscious mind, replacing negative, limiting beliefs with positive, empowering ones. But here's the key. For affirmations to be effective, you need to feel them, not just say them. You need to say them with emotion, with conviction. And you need to say them consistently, day after day, week after week, month after month. Remember, you're trying to overwrite years of negative programming. It takes time and persistence. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, taking action. You see, the weak version of yourself loves to plan, to dream, to talk about what it's going to do someday. But the strong version takes action. It understands that all the planning and dreaming in the world mean nothing without action. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They have goals, they have plans, but they never take that crucial first step. They're waiting for the perfect moment, for all the stars to align. But here's the truth, there is no perfect moment. The stars will never align perfectly. The only perfect moment is now. So whatever goal you have, whatever change you want to make in your life, take action today. It doesn't have to be a big action. In fact, it's often better to start small. If you want to write a book, commit to writing just one page today. If you want to start a business, spend just 1 hour today researching your idea. If you want to get in shape, do just 10 push-ups today. The key is to build momentum. You see, action begets action. Once you start moving, it becomes easier to keep moving. It's like pushing a boulder down a hill. The hardest part is getting it moving, but once it starts rolling, it picks up speed on its own. Now, as you start taking action, you're going to face obstacles. You're going to face setbacks. And this is where a lot of people give up. This is where the weak version of yourself tries to take control again. It says things like, see, I told you this was too hard, or this isn't working, let's just give up. But the strong version of yourself, it sees obstacles differently. It sees them as opportunities to learn, to grow, to become stronger. It understands that success is not about avoiding failures, it's about how you respond to them. This brings me to one of the most important qualities you need to develop if you want to kill that weak version of yourself, resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to keep going when things get tough. It's what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up. So how do you develop resilience? Well, it starts with your mindset. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, see them as feedback. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger, smarter, better? Another key to developing resilience is to focus on what you can control. You see, in any situation there are things you can control and things you can't. The weak version of yourself focuses on what it can't control, the economy of people's actions, bad luck. But the strong version, it focuses exclusively on what it can control, its own actions, its own attitude, its own responses. This is crucial because it puts you in a position of power. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you become the master of your own destiny. You understand that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Now, let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's what allows you to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. The weak version of yourself hates discipline and wants to do what feels good in the moment, regardless of the long-term consequences. It wants to sleep in instead of getting up to exercise. It wants to watch TV instead of working on that important project. It wants to spend money on frivolous things instead of saving for the future. But the strong version of yourself, it embraces discipline. It understands that short-term discomfort leads to long-term satisfaction. It's willing to sacrifice temporary pleasures for lasting success. So how do you develop discipline? Well, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Start small, make your bed every morning, stick to a regular sleep schedule, follow through on the commitments you make to yourself and others. Over time, as your discipline muscle gets stronger, you can take on bigger challenges. Another key to developing discipline is to create systems and routines. You see, willpower is a limited resource. If you rely solely on willpower to make good decisions, you'll eventually run out of steam. But if you create systems and routines that support your goals, you make it easier to do the right thing consistently. For example, if you want to eat healthier, don't rely on willpower to make good food choices every day. Instead, create a system. Plan your meals for the week in advance. Prep your meals on Sunday so they're ready to go. Remove all junk food from your house. By doing this, you're setting yourself up for success. You're making it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, continuous learning and growth. You see, the weak version of yourself is content with what it already knows. It's comfortable in its ignorance. It resists new ideas and new ways of thinking. But the strong version is always learning, always growing. It understands that in today's rapidly changing world, if you're not growing, you're dying. It's hungry for knowledge, for new skills, for new perspectives. So, make a commitment to lifelong learning. Read books, take courses, attend seminars. Seek out mentors. Expose yourself to new ideas and new ways of thinking. Remember, your income rarely exceeds your personal development. If you want to increase your value in the marketplace, you need to increase your value as a person. And here's the thing, learning isn't just about acquiring information. It's about applying what you learn. Knowledge without action is useless. So as you learn new things, always ask yourself, how can I apply this in my life? How can I use this to become better, to achieve my goals, to add more value to others? Now let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your relationships. You've probably heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And there's a lot of truth to that. The weak version of yourself is drawn to people who reinforce its weaknesses. It seeks out people who are negative, who make excuses, who settle for mediocrity. Why? Because these people make it feel comfortable. They don't challenge it to be better. But the strong version seeks out people who inspire it, who challenge it, who push it to be better. It understands that growth often happens through discomfort, through being around people who are further along the path than you are. So, take a hard look at your relationships. Are the people in your life lifting you up or dragging you down? Are they challenging you to be better or enabling your weaknesses? Remember, you have the power to choose who you spend time with. Choose wisely. This doesn't mean you need to cut people out of your life, but it does mean you need to be intentional about who you allow to influence you. Seek out mentors, join mastermind groups, surround yourself with people who are where you want to be. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your health. You see, your physical health has a huge impact on your mental and emotional state. When you're tired, when you're not eating well, when you're not exercising, it's much easier for that weak version of yourself to take control. The weak version of yourself doesn't care about health. It wants to eat junk food because it tastes good. It wants to skip exercise because it's uncomfortable. It wants to stay up late watching TV because it's easy. But the strong version understands that your body is the vehicle through which you experience life. It knows that taking care of your health isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. It's about having the energy, the vitality, the mental clarity to pursue your goals and live life to the fullest. So make your health a priority. Eat nutritious foods. Exercise regularly. Get enough sleep. Manage your stress. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of your health isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's what allows you to show up as the best version of yourself in all areas of your life. Now, let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your financial habits. Money is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used wisely or foolishly. The weak version of yourself uses money foolishly. It spends impulsively. It buys things it doesn't need with money. It doesn't have to impress people it doesn't like. It lives paycheck to paycheck, always one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. But the strong version understands the power of financial discipline. It lives below its means. It saves and invests for the future. It understands that true wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and how well you invest it. So take control of your finances. Create a budget and stick to it. Pay yourself first by saving a portion of every paycheck. Invest in your education and in assets that will generate income. Remember, financial freedom isn't about being rich, it's about having options. It's about being able to make decisions based on what's best for you, not based on financial necessity. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your time management. Time is your most precious resource. It's the one thing you can never get back. The weak version of yourself wastes time. It procrastinates. It gets distracted easily. It spends hours scrolling through social media or binge watching TV shows. But the strong version understands the value of time. It knows that how you spend your time is how you spend your life. It's intentional about its time use. It focuses on high-value activities that move it closer to its goals. So become a master of your time. Use tools like calendars and to-do lists to structure your day. Learn to prioritize. Focus on the important, not just the urgent. Remember the 80/20 rule. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Identify the crucial 20% and focus your time and energy there. Now let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your attitude. Your attitude is like the filter through which you experience the world. The weak version of yourself has a negative attitude. It complains, it blames, it sees problems everywhere it looks. But the strong version maintains a positive attitude, not because everything is perfect, but because it understands that attitude is a choice. It knows that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. It sees challenges as opportunities, setbacks as lessons. Developing a positive attitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means choosing to focus on solutions rather than problems, on opportunities rather than obstacles. It means choosing to be grateful for what you have while working towards what you want. Remember, your attitude determines your altitude. If you want to soar to new heights in your life, you need to cultivate an attitude that lifts you up, not one that weighs you down. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing the weak version of yourself, your comfort zone. The weak version of yourself loves its comfort zone. It's safe there. It's familiar. There are no risks, no challenges, no possibility of failure. But here's the thing, your comfort zone is also where your dreams go to die. It's where potential remains unfulfilled. It's where regret is born. The strong version of yourself. It understands that growth happens outside the comfort zone. It knows that every time you do something that scares you, you get a little bit stronger. Every time you face a fear, you become a little bit braver. So make it a habit to step out of your comfort zone regularly. Do something every day that challenges you, that scares you a little. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's speaking up at a meeting when you usually stay quiet. Maybe it's trying a new hobby. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been putting off. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And every time you act with courage, you make that weak version of yourself a little bit smaller and the strong version a little bit bigger. Now, let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your self-talk. The conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you'll ever have. The weak version of yourself engages in negative self-talk. It tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. It reminds you of your past failures and convinces you that you'll never succeed. But the strong version practices positive self-talk. It encourages you. It reminds you of your strengths, your past successes, your potential. It doesn't ignore your weaknesses or mistakes, but it sees them as opportunities for growth rather than reasons to give up. So become aware of your self-talk. When you catch that inner voice being negative, challenge it. Replace those negative thoughts with positive, empowering ones. Treat yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you would offer a good friend. Remember, you become what you consistently tell yourself you are. If you want to become the best version of yourself, you need to be your own biggest cheerleader, not your own worst critic. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your response to failure. The weak version of yourself is terrified of failure. It sees failure as proof of its inadequacy. It uses failure as an excuse to give up, to retreat back to its comfort zone. But the strong version understands that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. It knows that every successful person has failed many times. The difference is they didn't let failure stop them. They learned from it, they grew from it, they used it as fuel to push them forward. So change your relationship with failure. See it as feedback, not as a final verdict on your abilities. When you fail at something, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become better? Remember, the only real failure is the failure to learn from your mistakes. Now let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your willingness to ask for help. The weak version of yourself sees asking for help as a sign of weakness. It thinks it needs to figure everything out on its own. It's too proud, too afraid of looking foolish to admit when it doesn't know something. But the strong version knows that no one succeeds alone. It understands that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. It knows that by leveraging the knowledge and experience of others, it can achieve far more than it ever could on its own. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Seek out mentors. Join mastermind groups. Collaborate with others. Remember, success leaves clues. Why try to figure everything out on your own when you can learn from those who have already achieved what you want to achieve? Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to delay gratification. The weak version of yourself wants everything now. It's impatient. It's willing to sacrifice long-term success for short-term pleasure. It chooses the cookie now over the six-pack abs later. But the strong version understands the power of delayed gratification. It knows that the best things in life require time and effort. It's willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term success. This ability to delay gratification is crucial for success in all areas of life. It's what allows you to save money instead of spending it all. It's what allows you to stick to your diet instead of indulging in every craving. It's what allows you to put in the hours of practice necessary to master a skill. So practice delaying gratification. Start small. If you want to check your phone, wait 5 minutes. If you want to buy something, wait a day. Over time, as you strengthen this muscle, you'll find it easier to make choices that align with your long-term goals, not just your short-term desires. Now let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to focus. In today's world of constant distractions, focus is a superpower. The weak version of yourself is easily distracted. It jumps from task to task, never fully engaging with anything. It's always busy but rarely productive. But the strong version understands the power of deep focus. It knows that real progress comes from concentrated effort over time. It's able to shut out distractions and give its full attention to the task at hand. So, develop your ability to focus. Practice mindfulness. Use techniques like the Pomodoro method to structure your work time. Create an environment that supports focus by eliminating distractions. Remember, it's not about the amount of time you put in, it's about the amount of focused attention you bring to your work. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to take responsibility. The weak version of yourself loves to play the victim. It blames others for its problems. It makes excuses. It believes that life is happening to it. But the strong version takes full responsibility for its life. It understands that while it can't control everything that happens to it, it can always control its response. It knows that by taking responsibility, it gains power, the power to change, to improve, to create the life it wants. So stop making excuses. Stop blaming others. Take full responsibility for your life. Remember, the moment you take responsibility is the moment you gain the power to change your life. Now, let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to persist. The weak version of yourself gives up easily, quits when things get tough. It looks for the easy way out. But the strong version understands the power of persistence. It knows that most people give up right before their big breakthrough. It understands that success is often just a matter of hanging on after others have let go. So develop your ability to persist. When you feel like giving up, remember why you started. When you face setbacks, see them as set up for comebacks. Remember, it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your willingness to embrace discomfort. The weak version of yourself avoids discomfort at all costs. It stays in its comfort zone where everything is safe and familiar. But the strong version understands that growth happens in discomfort. It knows that the things that make you uncomfortable are usually the things that make you grow. It's willing to embrace discomfort because it knows that's where real progress happens. So learn to embrace discomfort. Do things that scare you. Take on challenges that stretch you. Remember, on the other side of your fear is your freedom. Now let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to say no. The weak version of yourself says yes to everything. It's afraid of disappointing others. It takes on too much and spreads itself too thin. But the strong version understands the power of no. It knows that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. It's clear on its priorities and isn't afraid to say no to things that don't align with them. So learn to say no. Be selective about what you commit to. Remember, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. Focus on what truly matters and have the courage to say no to the rest. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to adapt. The weak version of yourself resists change. It clings to old ways of doing things, even when they're no longer effective. But the strong version embraces change. It understands that in a rapidly changing world, adaptability is key to survival and success. It's willing to let go of what no longer serves it and embrace new ways of thinking and doing. So develop your ability to adapt. Be open to new ideas. Be willing to change your mind when presented with new information. Remember, it's not the strongest or the most intelligent who survive, but those who are most adaptable to change. Now let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to forgive. The weak version of yourself holds on to grudges. It lets past hurts define its present and future. It uses resentment as an excuse for not moving forward. But the strong version understands the power of forgiveness. It knows that forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. It forgives not because the other person deserves forgiveness, but because it deserves peace. So learn to forgive. Let go of past hurts. Remember, forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it does enlarge the future. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to be present. The weak version of yourself is always somewhere else. It dwells on the past or worries about the future. It misses the beauty and opportunities of the present moment. But the strong version understands the power of presence. It knows that the present moment is all we ever really have. It's fully engaged with what's happening right now, not distracted by regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. So practice being present. Engage fully in whatever you're doing. Pay attention to your surroundings, to the people you're with. Remember, life is happening right now. Don't miss it. Now, let's talk about another important aspect of killing that weak version of yourself, your ability to give. The weak version of yourself is focused on getting. It's always asking, what's in it for me? It sees life as a zero-sum game where for it to win, someone else has to lose. But the strong version understands the power of giving. It knows that true fulfillment comes not from what you get, but from what you give. It understands that by adding value to others' lives, you inevitably enrich your own. So look for ways to give, share your knowledge, offer your help, be generous with your time and resources. Remember, the more you give, the more you grow. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to emphasize one final, crucial point. Killing that weak version of yourself is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's a commitment you make to yourself every single day to choose growth over comfort, to choose the person you're capable of becoming over the person you've been. There will be days when it's hard. There will be days when that weak version of yourself seems to have the upper hand. But remember this, every time you make the hard choice, every time you push through when you want to give up, every time you do what's right, instead of what's easy, you're making that weak version smaller and the strong version bigger. And here's the beautiful thing. As you consistently choose to be the strong version of yourself, it becomes easier. What once seemed impossible becomes challenging. What once seemed challenging becomes comfortable. And what once seemed comfortable becomes boring. You see, we're not just talking about changing your habits or your actions. We're talking about fundamentally transforming who you are as a person. We're talking about becoming the kind of person who naturally makes the right choices, who naturally pushes themselves to grow, who naturally strives for excellence in everything they do. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of thousands of small choices made consistently over time. It's the result of choosing to get up early even when you want to sleep in. It's the result of choosing to work on your goals even when you're tired. It's the result of choosing to face your fears even when you want to run away. But here's the thing, while this transformation takes time, it starts with a decision. A decision you can make right here, right now. A decision to no longer tolerate mediocrity in your life. A decision to no longer make excuses. A decision to no longer let that weak version of yourself call the shots. So I ask you, are you ready to make that decision? Are you ready to commit to becoming the best version of yourself? Are you ready to kill that weak version of yourself once and for all? If your answer is yes, then I want you to do something right now. I want you to make a promise to yourself. A promise that from this moment forward, you will no longer settle for less than you're capable of. A promise that you will push yourself to grow every single day. A promise that you will face your fears, overcome your limitations, and become the person you are meant to be. This promise is not to me. It's not to your family or friends. It's to yourself. It's a commitment to honor your potential, to respect the gifts you've been given, to make the most of this one precious life you have. And remember, this promise isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. It's about waking up each day and asking yourself, how can I be a little bit better today than I was yesterday? It's about falling down 7 times and getting up 8. It's about never giving up on yourself and your dreams. As you leave here today, I want you to carry this message with you. You have greatness within you. You have the power to create the life you want. You have the ability to overcome any obstacle, to achieve any goal, to become any version of yourself you choose. But that greatness, that power, that ability, it's not going to manifest itself. You have to choose it. You have to fight for it. You have to work for it every single day. So go forth from here with a new determination. Let today be the day you declare war on mediocrity in your life. Let today be the day you commit to killing that weak version of yourself. Let today be the day you begin the journey to becoming the best version of yourself. Remember, success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. So focus on becoming, focus on growing, focus on transforming yourself into the kind of person who deserves the success you desire. And as you go through this journey, remember that you're not alone. There are others out there, just like you, who are fighting this same battle. Seek them out. Support each other. Learn from each other. Grow together. In closing, let me leave you with this thought. The world needs you to be strong. Your family needs you to be strong. Your community needs you to be strong. But most importantly, you need you to be strong. You owe it to yourself to become the best version of yourself, to live up to your full potential, to create a life that fills you with pride and satisfaction. So go out there and kill that weak version of yourself. Embrace the challenge. Embrace the struggle. Embrace the journey of becoming. Because in the end, it's not about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. Thank you, and remember, the best is yet to come.